As many of you have probably learned, there's a significant amount of research out there indicating that using generative AI to learn a domain actually may make you dumber. And I think it's very significant to point out that this is not a nature of generative AI, but is how you use generative AI. Once again, this all comes down to prompt engineering. And the example I'd get is you meet a physicist. You have a few hours to engage with this physicist. Okay? You might ask them the first question, assuming you're a general knowledge person. What is string theory afterwards? This physicist will look off at the distance and they actually start explaining it to you in a simplified pattern, essentially, quote unquote, dumbing it down more and more and more, making it more colloquial, draining more and more of the technical details to a point where you're able to respond to a way that seems like you understand string theory. And you might walk away saying, I understand string theory now. But the fact of the matter is you don't. You couldn't make any contributions to it. You couldn't follow current research. And we know this for a fact because we don't give any credit to you for learning string theory in this case, but we give credit to the physicist for being able to make string theory accessible. In fact, many physicists become celebrities in their ability to make complex ideals like string theory or black holes or something like that accessible to ordinary people who really don't understand. But if you were to ask a more interesting question, interesting is a subjective word, but can you explain to me Newtonian physics? Now, Newtonian physics is a totally different bucket of fish, let's say. It's something that they teach high school students. I learned Newtonian physics when I was 16, and its basic premises are things that can be demonstrated with real-world examples. There's a few basic principles, and the mathematics is fairly straightforward. And in a few hours, you would be able to get the 3 fundamental laws and start understanding the concepts of Newtonian physics to an extent. And you would be able to understand why the moon doesn't fall down, what orbits are around, how cannonballs operate on a high level. Certainly, when you bring in the complexities of friction and general relativity, things become much more complicated. But you would be able to understand lots of the physical things happening around you in the world. But you would also be able to think about these things. You would be able to do basic mathematical operations, and you might even be able to get relatively right answers after a while when you learn the principles of it. Okay? That's the major difference. If you're going into a generative AI and you're just asking it a complex question and interacting with it until you're happy with the answer, you're like asking a physicist about string theory. And all the talent and intellect is in the string theorist, not in you. You've not learned anything really. But if you make sure to ask it questions that you actually have the capacity to understand and work through these and make sure at the end of it that your knowledge and understanding has some value or use, you can learn. So once when it gets into the issue of anything you read about generative AI, you have to remember that it takes two to tango. How are people using generative AI? Unfortunately, a lot of students are just getting to the paper, okay? They're going to ask the question, get the answer, copy and paste it, which unfortunately Google has created that and is a massive intellectual laziness of our age. Go online and ask anybody about any complicated issue they believe in and see who can actually explain their belief to you. They're just going to Google people who agree with you and copy and paste those people as if that's intellectually valid. You need to, when you're confronting generative AI to learn, make sure that you're in a position where you can really learn about the subject. I'm not saying don't ask it about string theory. I like to talk to things about string theory and black hole entropy. That's entertaining as interesting, and it is also very good to understand this stuff to potentially follow up on the advances in technology, but you don't really understand the subject. Make sure that you're asking and discussing subjects that you're ready to learn, check its work, and also make sure that you have an operational knowledge of it. It's that simple. And it's not new. It's basically it's an extension of the issue we already have in our society. Too many people think that because they can Google the answer, copy and paste the answer, and get some answer to a question and present it either in a tweet or a post, they have validated their opinions or understood it. This is not something that generative AI is generating. This is a loss of ownership of knowledge has been happening via technology, and is probably as old as time. People believe things, and when asked about it, Socrates would ask people why they believed in things, and he ended up getting murdered for it. So that's my point on what AI does to your brain.